Welcome to the fucking metaverse.
To give this context and why I think that dystopian vision of the metaverse is a little bit false is I spent 10 years very, very ill, and I was mostly in bed for those 10 years. And during that time, I experienced my reality mostly digitally. I was very much just on my laptop, either trying to figure out how to get better or just experiencing community and my social interactions through a digital lens. And the idea of online communities became like really important to me, whether it be through like an MMORPG, or whether it be through just, watching my favorite streamer on Twitch or my favorite YouTubers, podcasters, Discords, Twitter, whatever. And I think the idea of like, living more and more of your lives online digitally is as bad, I think is like a very like weird blanket statement to have, right? I think it's like, well, look, like that doesn't account for someone like me who was basically bedbound for a long time.
Well, we already are spending our time
exactly
exclusively digitally. Like,
exactly,
spend a hideous amount of time on between Slack, Twitter, Gmail. Literally just those three things probably accounts for 6 hours of my day.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, we're going to have, I do think there is something a little weird, right? About the idea of like, okay, we're going to be sending our kids off to the metaverse school. And that's just like where they're going to be plugged in and, like having whole generations raised on the internet.
Right.
But it's also an inevitability is what I see.
Yeah. And I mean, it already has happened.
Right.
Too. And I think like, I don't know, when I sort of express this skepticism or, some level of, I wouldn't call it fear necessarily, but just like, when I'm less enthusiastic, I think, than some people. I think part of it is also just like looking at what's happened with sort of like Web 2, social media. I mean, obviously really great things have been unlocked by a lot of this technology, but there's like a definite dark side to it.
Sure.
And so it's sort of like, it's inevitable that there's going to be both of these, sort of good and bad competing. I think you're right. Like it's inevitable that more and more of our lives are going to be lived online. There's a whole generation of children already who are like essentially like raised by iPads and shit.